Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kari and today I will talk about all the book series that I didn't finish. This is the opposite of the video I uploaded recently in which I talk about all the book series that I have completed. And now it's time for the DNFs. I gotta say that I have more here than the ones that I've completed because I've tried to DNF books and sometimes I struggle with that, but with series apparently I don't. Because if I'm not interested in the plot anymore and I already finished the first book, the first two, three, or even more, then I just gotta stop reading. Again, I try to put them in order in which I started the series, but I'm not completely sure that this is accurate. Before we start, if you like this kind of content, please subscribe to my channel. I upload weekly videos about movies, TV shows, and books. Now let's start. The first one is the Ghost Girl trilogy. I read the first book and I was way too obsessed with it in middle school. I remember that for a class we had to create a play and I based my play on this book. It was crazy. And I have great memories about it, but I just didn't really want to continue the story. It is a gothic novel, even the cover is very gothic. And I don't know if I recommend it or not because a lot of time has passed. To be honest, the premise was kind of good, but some things that I remember from the book are kind of cringy. So I think that's why later on I didn't really continue with this. The next one, I didn't even consider this a series because I thought this was only one book and that is The Wizard of Oz, but apparently there's like 13 or more, I don't really know. But I read this because it was a classic and it completes the story on its own, so I don't really feel the need to read more. So that's why I DNF'd this series, and also because in my previous video I added Alice in Wonderland, which I also thought that wasn't exactly a series, but apparently they are, and now I can say that I DNF'd the series just because I stayed with the classic, the one and only The Wizard of Oz. The next is the Pretty Little Liars series, which has way too many books. I think there's 15 or 16, I don't know. And I read it because I was watching the TV show, which is what I like to do most. Watch a TV show, then read the book series. But I couldn't deal with this. It was very boring, it felt kind of old, and I couldn't relate to the characters, so that's why I only finished the first book. The next one is a very popular series here on BookTube. I don't know how many books there are up till now, but when I read the first one, I think there were 3. And this is the Every Heart a Doorway series. I don't even know the correct name of the series. I don't think that's the name of the series. I will put it right here. But the only book that I read was Every Heart a Doorway. It had an intriguing premise, but I just didn't really connect with the characters. I didn't connect with the story and I wasn't interested in knowing more about them, so that's why I DNF'd it. Next we have a series that I really wanted to read, wanted to pick it up again, but I didn't, and now I don't think I will ever do it, and this is The 100. I only finished the first book and I wanted to read it just because we have Bellark here, and I really wanted to read about them, about their relationship. But the story was not for me. It instantly felt that it was for a younger audience. It is YA and I like some YA books, but I couldn't. I really just love more the story, the action parts and the plot of the show. This was very different and more focused on the romance, which I didn't really like, and that's why I just didn't finish it. The next one is the Montague Siblings trilogy. I have here The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue in Spanish, and I was so excited to read this. You have no idea, I even bought the book because of that, and I bought it in Spanish because there were no copies in English, and I didn't like it. I mean, there were some great aspects, but for the most part, I just didn't really like it, and so I didn't continue. I know that this is also a very popular book series, but no, this wasn't for me. Next one is also very popular, and this is The Diviners. I listened to the first one in audiobook format and that was it. I don't think that I really connected with the story. The characters were interesting, especially the protagonist, which I don't remember her name now. But the story wasn't really appealing to me. I don't like spooky stories. There are some exceptions, some horror movies that I love, but in general, I don't like spooky stories. And I don't know even why I read this. I think it was really because I heard a lot of people talking about it, but it wasn't a story appealing to me, and that's why I just didn't continue. The next book was one of the worst books that I've ever read, and I regretted it. I DNF'd this series that is called Once and Future. It is a retelling of the Arthurian legend with LGBTQ plus representation, and it was a mess. I only read the first book, and I don't know if the second book is out yet. I don't know how many books it's gonna be, but I don't care. I'm not gonna read them. I don't recommend this book to anyone. It was just awful, and I really don't want to think about it anymore. Next is the Land of Stories series. I have here the first book, and I only was interested in reading this, well, for two reasons. One, because Chris Colfer wrote it, and second one, because it is about fairy tales. I thought that was gonna be the greatest thing, and it wasn't. It wasn't. I mean, I love middle grade books, but these were not good. This one was okay. The second one was great. I have to say that. That was amazing. But the third one really ruined it for me. I couldn't. I finished it, but it wasn't a good book. The story became more absurd than ever, and I just couldn't deal with that. I'm so sorry, Chris Colfer. Next, I have another series that disappointed me because I had huge expectations for this book and I loved the first one. This is the Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I even have the box set of the trilogy. And I was thinking of putting this in my video of completed series, you know, as a trilogy, but it happened just like the Mortal Instruments, that now the author added 3 more books as a second trilogy, but it is part of the same story with the same characters. So I guess I DNF'd the series. But I did completed the trilogy, although my favorite book and the one that I think is just great is the first one. Next we have Small Spaces. I read the first book only because the premise was intriguing. It was about Halloween. It was kind of a spooky but middle grade, so I thought it was gonna be amazing. And it was good, but it wasn't great. I really love the covers, and the covers of the next books in the series are just wonderful. I guess I'm still thinking about this one, if I might pick it up again. But for now, I don't think it will be in the near future because I have a lot of other books that I truly want to read, way more than this series. The next one is the Splinter trilogy. This was an awful reading experience as well. I only read the first book, and it even made it to the list of my worst books of the year. This is an Alice in Wonderland retelling, but very focused on the romance. So if you like that, you might like this. But I didn't. The premise was amazing. I thought I was going to love it, and the covers seemed very beautiful to me at first, and now I kind of hate them. So yeah, this was not a good book, and I don't recommend this. Next series is Pages & Co. I read 3 books out of this series, and I don't know how many books there are gonna be. I loved the first book, and the second book was kind of meh. It had some bad aspects, but the third book was just terrible. I didn't like it. If you want to know more of my thoughts about it, I will leave the wrap-ups in which I talked about these books, so I give you details there on why I didn't really like them. The next one is a Spanish series called Las Aventuras de Jules Verne, which tells the story of Jules Verne, but when he was young and when he was trying to be an inventor. It's about him, but also his group of friends, and the first book was really great, really beautiful. But the reason why I DNF'd this is because there's a lot of books. There's like more than 10, and they have references to the stories, the original stories of Jules Verne, which I haven't read, and I think that I want to read them first, then read a retelling or a book that has many references to them. I don't know if I'll ever continue with the series in the future, especially because it was a good first book, but for now I don't think that I will, so this is a DNF. The next series is Jacobi, and this is just sad because I was so excited to read this book. It was a good first book, I guess. The second one, I DNF'd it. I couldn't finish it. It was very focused on the romance. It took a weird direction that I didn't really like. The covers are gorgeous, all the covers, because I mean, look at them, here they are, and I just can't deal with this because I thought it was gonna be an amazing series. And to be honest, this book has very witty writing and so many great quotes that I underlined. That's why I'm sad that I had to DNF the series, but the second book wasn't very good and I couldn't finish it. Next, I have, sadly, the Sculpture Pleasant series. I read the first book just because Abby recommended it a lot, and I saw that she keeps on reading them again and again, and I just don't think the series is for me just because of that. It didn't give me that feeling. I don't think it is a bad story. Most of my list, I don't think that are bad stories. Some of them are, but most of them are good that just weren't for me, and this is one of those. Also, I was kind of scared because this series has more than 15 books. I think there are more books coming out to this day, so that's why it was a little bit intimidating. Next, I have the Ascendance trilogy, in which I read only the first book, and there are 4 books in total. The first book is The False Prince. I also have a review on my channel about this. It wasn't a bad book. It had a very interesting premise and a great protagonist, but when I finished it, I just didn't have any interest in continuing with the story. And that's mainly why I DNF'd the series. But it is very interesting. If you like medieval style stories, this has a very interesting premise, and I think it would be great. I have seen reviews of people that loved these books, and so I guess they weren't for me. And the last one, I also recently talked about this book in my last wrap-up video. I DNF'd the Raven Cycle series. I read the first 3 books. I had only the last book to read and I couldn't finish it. I DNF'd the book. I don't know what my opinion about this series is, because I felt that from what I've read, I still don't know what the story is, and I still don't have a clue on how it was going to end. I loved the first book, that's what I have to say about this, but sadly I couldn't really finish it. I mean, I kind of regret it, because I did think that it was gonna be just good to say that I finished it, but I was reading it only to finish it, and that's not good. And that's it. Those were all the series that I have DNF'd so far. I also think that I will make a part 2 of this video once I DNF'd more series, which I wish I wouldn't do, but I know I will. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe, you can do it here, and here I will leave more videos for you to check out. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.